Good morning. We're doing our first live that we've done for a long time. So if anyone logs on here, you could let us know if we have good audio or not. That would be super helpful.
Hi, buddy.
You'll notice the video quality isn't our normal on this, and that's because the only live equipment we have is just on our cell phone. So if anyone hops on here, just let us know if the audio is working, if the video is streaming, and then we'll hop into some Q&A with our little herd. Hey, there we go. We got some people. Hello from Sweden. And Cookie the Horse says, hi, I'm a huge fan. Good morning, guys. Someone says, hi from the UK. Sound is good. Awesome, that's encouraging. We still get really nervous doing these lives because we are far from professionals. Hey, Fyra the Fire Scale and Lori Windles. Good morning, guys. Thanks for being here. If you guys have questions, drop them in the little chat there and we'll get them answered. And if I miss them, sometimes I get overwhelmed with the questions. So if I miss any, just try again during a little downtime. Someone else says hi from Sweden as well. Hi from Idaho, United States.
Chores.
British Columbia, awesome. I love a lot of that country up there.
There you go, sweetheart.
Hey, Ginger. Oh, here's one. Have you made a decision on Taz yet?
No.
So
Not quite.
What'd you think of him? Yeah, so actually, just to set that one up, our last video, we took out a new horse that was offered to us by our amazing neighbors, and we took him out for a little mountain ride. He's a big, beautiful buckskin Appaloosa, and
Yes.
the full video just came out, yesterday?
I think so.
So you
Yep.
can check that out and get the background. But yeah, Alyssa, what were your thoughts on Taz? What's your gut say?
He's a very nice horse. We definitely want to probably ride him again. Right now we're pretty busy, so we talked to our neighbors. If we do end up taking him, it won't be until the end of November, just because otherwise he's just going to stand around in our pen. We have some trips planned and stuff, and so he wouldn't go on those. And so anyway, so yeah, we'll probably not take him until the end of November if we do. And yeah, I did like him. I would like to ride him again. He had pulled a couple shoes, and so he was just a little bit tender. Like right before we rode him, he just got new shoes on, and so I want to ride him again and just make sure that's what was going on there. And we were thinking about maybe taking him to a clinic this coming weekend, but his Coggins is now out of date, and we just didn't have enough time to go get a brand new one. So anyway, that was not going to work out, but hopefully we'll get to go do something fun with him.
Awesome. Another question rolled in there. It said, what did it say? Have you ridden Rooster out? So can you give us a little update on Rooster the Mustang? And tons of people are saying good morning, and I'm missing you. So good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, Rooster's doing good. No, I haven't ridden him out of the corral yet. We actually haven't really ridden him much lately. We've been gone a lot. So yeah, traveling with Ty this summer has been super busy. We spent a week in the backcountry. We took Clyde and Riata. We haven't showed really any of that footage. We did like a little ride out, just kind of like a ride along video. But other than that, we'll have a video coming out on that whole trip. But mostly we're just super behind on editing. We've done a lot of really fun things. We've gone on some really cool rides this summer, done a lot of fun events, and we have not shared hardly any of those with you guys because we have all the footage and have not had time to just sit down and edit. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind.
We have a neighbor coming in. That's bad timing. Here, you want to go, you do this and tell them about our herd. I'll turn off the mic.
Wait, how do I switch the camera? Okay, you're gonna have to look at the mules because I don't know how to switch the camera around. Here, we'll go see Josie. Sorry, guys. Would you rope off Rooster? Yeah, in time. He's I've practiced with him with roping, just up on a panel and stuff like that. I just bought a 3-year-old mare, broke to ride really good, but it's been months. Oh, I don't know how to see the questions once they disappear here. Sorry, guys. Usually I'm the one behind it, not running this, so I didn't see the rest of your question. Thank you. How heavy is Rooster? I'm not sure. We haven't had him on a scale. If I had to guess, probably 1,150 pounds, somewhere in there. How often should you work with your horse? That's really up to you. The kind of the rule of thumb that we like to use is if you're going to work with them, Mesa's spooking at the neighbor. If we're going to work with them, we like to work with them 3 days in a row. And that's a pretty good rule of thumb. So anyway, if you can work with them 3 days consistently in a row, and then even if you have to take like a week off, that'll do them more good than just randomly working with them. Do you trim the hooves yourself? I do. I've had a couple farriers help me learn how, and I do trim them myself. I do not know how to shoe them, so I don't do that. So like Clyde needed shoes for our recent trip here, and I had a farrier come over and do those. She's doing good. I'll show you her in a second. Jason's visiting with some people over there, so we'll show you her here in just a little bit. Look at Riata. Mesa has grown. She's like almost as tall as Riata, so she's going to be a monster, I think. We have not found a new property. No, Rooster doesn't have any breathing issues. No problems at all. No, we haven't found a new property. We've been looking. We haven't found the right one. And Rooster is now 15 hands tall. Mesa is 1.5 years. I missed the question on Josie. I wish I could see these a little longer. Oh, there we go. Oh, figured it out, guys. How's Josie doing? Do you think she'll grow big enough to ride? I hope she grows big enough to ride. She's 14 hands right now. She's doing really good. We actually filmed a video on her yesterday, so we're going to post that probably this coming weekend. We always get questions like, people assume that we must not work with our horses unless we film it, our horses and mules. But that's kind of the opposite of what's actually true. Most of the time we don't film our sessions just because we just don't have enough time to film it, or I'm, out there working with them by myself, and Clyde's picking on Riata. I'm out there working with them by myself, and and it's hard to self-film. So, or Jason's gone at a Thai clinic with a good camera, and I don't have a good camera to use, so. All right, let's see if I can. How would you train a horse to be on a high line? Get them leading really good, teach them to give to pressure, and be really responsive leading, and then I would just tie them up on the high line. The high line's a great way to teach them to start tying, and just tie them nice and short so they can't get tangled up, and be there to watch them. I wouldn't leave them unsupervised at first. Ours are to the point now where we can high line them overnight, and they do good, but we didn't start out that way. Are you getting the buckskin horse? We're not sure yet. We want to go ride him a little bit more and see. He seems like a nice horse. There's a lot to consider, obviously, but if we did get him, we'd probably keep him for a year, maybe 1.5 years, and then try to find a new home for him. Just help him out a little bit, and then send him to hopefully his forever home. Has our herd ever been around cows? A few of them, yeah. And then there's always cows out in the mountains where we ride because a lot of ranchers have leases, so we always run into cows out there. What draft breed is Mesa crossed with? She is a Percheron, so she's actually 5/8 Percheron, 3/8 quarter horse. Have I ever been scared around horses or on horseback? You both seem so confident, which is inspiring. I still get some scares on my trail rides, even though it's not the best thing I know. Yeah, your horses can definitely feel your nervous energy. Yeah, I've gotten in actually a pretty bad horse wreck when I was 15. A lot of you asked what was wrong with my wrist. I've had it taped for a while. I don't really know what I did to it this time, but when I was 15, I had a horse try to jump a fence. She spooked at some llamas, and she actually flipped over on top of me and shattered my wrist. And so sometimes it just still gives me some problems. But, you know, it definitely takes a while to get your confidence back when you have had a wreck, but it's just something you got to work on. And breathing a lot, like just focusing on your breathing. Don't hold your breath. Just try to take big, deep breaths and relax, and that'll help you out. Do I have more experience training equines than Jason? Yes, quite a bit. He had one horse previous to when we met, and that has been his only horse. He got into horses when he was in his 30s, so he's fairly new to equines, but he's got Riata and Mesa will be the first one he's ever going to start, so I'll help him with that, but he's really excited to actually start a colt. I imagine it's difficult to focus on the work while trying to record. Yeah, hopefully I'm not doing a terrible job right now. It's hard to also read and focus on what I'm recording. Usually Jason has the camera, so I apologize. Our neighbors came over to visit. He's over there visiting with them real quick. Yeah, mules can live, so I missed that question. How old can mules live? They can actually live up into their 50s, which is pretty crazy. It's not unheard of to have mules packing and trail riding still at around 30 years old, which is pretty crazy. Are we thinking of staying out west, or have you thought of other states? The two main states we'd like to stay in is Idaho or Wyoming, but we have thought of other states, and we'll see what happens. We would love to buy our own property. We would also still love to maybe lease a property or be caretakers of a property. So we'll see if something happens with that. What would you recommend for people who are beginning to trail ride and want a good solid foundation? I'm not sure about your question, if you're talking about your horse or you personally. Maybe you can explain your question a little bit, but mainly just get a solid foundation on your horse and, you know, build a relationship with them, and then that way when you hit the trails, you're feeling pretty confident in each other.
Here, I'll film you answering.
Yeah, here's Jason's back, so this will get better. Thanks for your patience, guys. Okay, I finally figured out how to at least scroll through the questions. They were disappearing so fast, and I figured out if you touch the screen, you could finally see them, so they got better. It was rough go for a while, so sorry about that. But yeah, they want to see Mesa. But I didn't, you guys were having a conversation over here, so. See Mesa's face. Look how big she is, guys. Like, look at her butt. I'm 6 foot tall, and look at that. She can be huge. She's 1.5 years. So she turned 1 year old in April. She's not gonna like me pulling her away from her breakfast, but here we are. We're looking at Mesa real quick. Look at that. The hair hasn't grown back in, but when it does, it's gonna be just perfect. So that was unfortunate, but it happened, and she's healing up good now. So a lot of care was given to her.
Someone was asking if any of our mules or horses are planning to move on to new homes.
Just Cedar, probably for right now. I think even if Josie stays too small for us to ride, We haven't decided fully, but we've been talking about just keeping her for a little pack mule. And I mean, she's going to get big enough that we could ride her weight-wise, but with our long legs, we'll see if I feel like my feet are going to drag the ground. But we'll probably still train her to ride. She's so chill that we probably put like Jason's dad or my brother or something like that on her. She's a really cool little mule. So, plus we want her to stay in a good home.
Yes. Sorry for that little distraction. We have awesome neighbors here where we live. And one of our neighbors that I had not met yet was bringing over produce from their garden. So she stopped by and I wanted to chat with her a little bit. So sorry about that, but we're back in action now.
Yeah, that's one nice thing about where we live, man. Everyone's so friendly. But we do have neighbors stopping in a lot to talk, which we really enjoy. But sometimes when you're filming, you're like, oh no, this is bad timing. we need a sign out on the road. Filming and recording in progress, or whatever that is.
Someone says, what is Cedar's story?
Cedar's story? Well, we need to do a video on Cedar, a final video on Cedar. So Cedar's story is we had a friend that bought Cedar as, I don't know when he bought her, how old she was, but he had her until she was, I think 5 is when we got her, maybe 4. It's been a while now, but he had never started a colt before. He got Cedar and he put a riding saddle on her. Didn't have a corral. He just put a riding saddle on her out in the field and it slipped underneath her and really scared her. And she ended up taking off bucking, and it sounded like it took him a long time to catch her. She pulled away from our friend and took her a long time to catch her. And then she was really, really, really scared of the saddle after that. So anytime anything would touch her at all, she would just start bucking and exploding. And so he didn't want to screw her up anymore, and he let her just sit for at least a year. And then he was moving and just wanted her to go to a good home, and he knew with her issues that might not be likely if he were to just sell her to the public. And so he offered her to us really cheap and was like, I just want her to go to a good home and be helped. So we weren't planning really on getting Cedar, but we felt like she needed help, and we knew we could give her a good home, so that's where Cedar came from. So she was never really a plan to keep Cedar. It was just going to help her and then move her to a good home for her. So that's Cedar's story in the short.
Then the next question, can you talk a little bit about the difference in mule backs and horsebacks?
Yeah. Well, both of our horses are really young, so they're not going to be like super great but Rooster will be better. So Cedar, you can see, like, this is their withers. It's not very pronounced. Like, it's pretty flat all the way back. And Josie's a good example. Sometimes mules will have these last vertebrae will actually kind of stick up, but for the most part, it's very flat. She's built like a little barrel. Like, this is a very typical mule, Cedar is. No withers, very flat back, extremely big belly, and shaped like a balloon all the way around. So it's really hard to have a saddle sit here. If you go downhill, it's going to want to slide up over their neck. So that's why we use a britchin or a crupper with mules to keep that saddle up here and not slide up onto their neck, because it'll full blown. I've seen it slide clear over their head without a britchin on some mules. So, and then with horses, you can see that they have this wither. He doesn't have a super prominent wither, but it's much better than Cedar. But you can see how they've got a nice wither here. Their shoulders are a little bit different. It holds the saddle a little nicer. Mules have a very straight up and down shoulder as well. Horses, it's at a little more of an angle. But yeah, so horses are just built better for holding that saddle from sliding over their head. So that's the main difference. And each horse and each mule is built different. Some mules are very horsey, and some horses really have a very flat back. So it just depends.
I've seen a couple people asking about if we know Monty Roberts. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Of Monty Roberts? Yeah, I've never.
Didn't he do the join up stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's kind of how I got started with, like, what some people would call like natural horsemanship. But I had a horse, my first horse actually was kind of a pain in the butt when I got him. He was an dude string horse, and he had learned every trick in the book to get people off. He would buck, he would rub you off on fences. Like, he was not a great horse. And And so long story short, he really scared me, and I was really scared of horses for quite a while when I was a kid because of that horse. And when I was about 13, I was like, I am going to get through to this horse. Like, he was my only horse I had. I was like, I'm gonna make it work because I wanted to ride so bad. And so I actually read the horse, I don't remember what it's called, Monty Roberts' book that they wrote. It was about him and his Mustang Shy Boy and a join up and all that. Maybe someone knows what that book's called. I don't remember, but I read that book, and I was really into the Heartland series before it was ever a TV show. But they talk about join up in there, and so I ended up joining up with him, and I don't know how long it took me the first time, a long time, but anyway, it worked out to where you'd like take him in a little corral. I didn't have any sort of fancy round pen, I just had a little makeshift corral, and you'd send him off and he'd turn and face you and just come up to you, and then he'd follow you all over the place. So anyway, that like really started helping our relationship, and so yeah, that was that's about my only experience with Monty Roberts. But
Another question I saw come in was, Hey Ginger asked, how many rides does Rooster have on him now?
Rooster, he's only got a couple still because we've been gone. So need to put some more on him. Saddled him up a few more times, but man, we've been gone and busy, and so unfortunately that's going to be the way it is probably throughout the fall. Our fall fills up really fast, and a lot of times we're gone.
Someone says, what are the herd dynamics like?
Well, they've been watching them. They're good. Rooster's the boss, and Josie and Mesa are pretty sassy, but they're not the bosses, even though they think they are. And yeah, Clyde's probably second after Rooster. See, Rooster's like, he'll push everyone away. We're about to get mauled over here. But no, everyone gets along really well. And Rooster's nice because he's kind. Like, he will go after someone, but it's really quick and then it's just over. And no one's hurt each other, knock on wood. So everyone gets along really well. They've worked it all out.
I really like our current herd dynamic. That's one of the things with Taz that we've been really thinking about, is these guys get along so well, and Rooster is such a good like herd leader that throwing big old Taz in here, it would definitely have like cause some turbulence, at least at first. They would get it sorted out, but it's like we just like our peaceful herd dynamic right now.
Yep. And from what they've told us, Taz isn't like overly aggressive, so him and Rooster might, clash a little bit right at first, but I bet they would sort it out pretty quick. And my guess is Rooster would still be the leader. Josie, they're picking on you.
I have a question for you guys watching.
That'd be me.
What are some videos that you guys have enjoyed the most this year, that off the top of your head? We enjoy making videos that we like and going out and doing things that we enjoy and just filming it naturally, but we are curious what people really enjoy watching. Oh, someone is asking, when do you plan on starting Josie?
Well, the plan is to start her probably next summer. She'll be turning 3 end of this month, so next summer she'll be almost turning 4, and that's when we plan to start her under saddle. We'll see how tall she is at that point, but Ty has a colt starting class usually in July, and that would be kind of fun to enter her in, just to experience his colt starting class. So, and she'll be the only one that isn't started and is old enough to start this next summer. So maybe the summer after, Jason and Mesa can go to the colt starting. That'd be really fun.
That's the plan.
Yep.
A ton of really nice encouraging comments coming in, which,
oh, that's awesome.
Oh, someone says what the getting out of debt video was one of their favorites, and that's a throw way back to the beginning.
Yeah, that feels like a long time ago. And kind of on that same page, it's been really fun. We've been, with the truck trouble we've been having, which I think we finally got sorted out. We haven't talked about that, but we got a brand new radiator in it. We got 2 new thermostats, we got a brand new radiator, and yesterday when we went out on our drive, we purposely went up a big hill and back down, and it didn't overheat. So fingers crossed that it's fixed now. But for a while we thought we'd have to move over and start saving for like a newer truck, which if you guys have looked at truck prices, they are really depressing. It is crazy expensive for a brand new truck. But anyway, since we don't have to buy a brand new truck right now, we'll still obviously save for one in the future. But we've been putting all of our extra towards the mortgage and trying to get that thing totally paid off, which has been really fun. We're kind of in this weird limbo where it's like we'd like to get a new place, but places are still really expensive, and we'd like to be totally debt free. And so anyway, we've decided that right this second, while we can't find any places, we're gonna start putting some money towards our mortgage and just paying that thing down. So that's been really fun. So it goes along the same lines. Dave Ramsey would be proud. So
We're so thankful that we think we have that thing fixed. It's like a weight off of our shoulders.
Yeah. It's been into the mechanic back and forth like 3 or 4 times, and they had no idea what was wrong with it. And we finally were like, hey, will you just like do a deep clean of the radiator? And so they had to like pull it out of the truck. And when they pulled that thing out of the truck, they said they couldn't even clean it. It was so like crammed with stuff. I don't know how it got that way. Like it was that way when we bought it. But so they're like, you want a new one? And we're like, just put a new one in it. Like, let's just not mess with it. So anyway, feels good.
It does. There's been a ton of nice comments coming in, and that makes me want to say thank you to everyone who does take time to leave really nice comments on our videos. We don't currently have time to reply to all of them, but we do read all the comments, and the ones that are positive and encouraging, they actually mean a ton to us.
YouTube is a weird thing because you get everyone's opinions, whether you want them or not, and everyone has an opinion on everything you're doing, and some of them are not very nice, you know, and so anyway, we would do our best just to ignore those, but we really appreciate all of you that are encouraging and, you know, positive, because, you know, this is out for a lot of people to see, and there's a lot of people that don't agree with stuff, and, you know, or whatever, but so the nice comments are really are encouraging.
Any other questions anyone has? I'm sure I missed a lot more nice comments coming in. Thank you guys so much.
You can scroll up through.
Do you guys like Rooster's braids?
So fancy.
I'm kind of 50-50. Someone says, what's Josie's color?
I would call her, well, if she was solid, I would call her a bay dun, because she has dun points. She's got, you can see her transverse stripe through her spots, which is pretty cool. Right there. If she was solid, she'd have a dark point right there. She's got black points on her legs. She even has some barring. If you look in her spots, she's got some barring there. And then if you look down her rear end here where she's solid, she's got a dorsal stripe. So she is a dun, but the speckled pattern I would call a leopard Appaloosa is usually what that's called. So she's kind of a bay dun leopard Appaloosa, if you really want to, I don't know, there might be a more technical term than that, but she's got a lot going on.
Someone is asking about riding Bitless. Can you talk a little bit about goals of moving into the Hackamore?
Yeah, so our Bitless system that we use, it's our goal to, Josie's gonna kick at her. It's our goal to ride Bitless on all of our horses for a time, but in that case, we're talking about a Hackamore, and not a mechanical Hackamore, a Boselle with Macatis and a hanger. And that's our bitless system. So we start all of ours in a snaffle bit. They learn how to pack that. We get them soft in that. And then once they're ready, we'll go to a Boselle. So that's our bitless system.
I've asked this one before, but do you guys prefer the old stripes or the spots? We love both. And whenever I ask that, it's a total joke because they're both amazing and we're so thankful for them.
Very stripy.
I love Riata's coat this time of year.
You just got flies, huh? Oh, yes.
Someone asked if mules have less foot issues and medical issues than horses.
I think in general, yes. But they definitely can get problems like Clyde. If he's given any sort of mildew or mold in his hay, he gas colics really bad. So, you know, they definitely can still colic. They can definitely still get sick. They can definitely still have hoof problems. I've heard from some people that they think mules are more likely to get ring bone just because they're really naturally heavy on the forehand compared to horses. They don't use their hindquarters quite as well as horses do. But thankfully we haven't experienced ring bone in any of ours, so. They do get fat pretty easy, a lot of them, so you gotta watch out for founder, laminitis, those types of issues.
Looking
Like
at
Miss
you,
Cedar is about ready to go on a diet again because she's starting to get a little bit chunky.
Someone asked how we go about finding our horses and mules.
Honestly, I feel like they find us for the most part. Obviously, we went out searching for a Mustang. We went out searching for Rooster, but like Cedar just kind of came to us out of the blue. This new horse just kind of was offered to us out of the blue. And that happens a lot. Like we actually get quite a few people that offer us, like I had an offer to trade one mule and trade for another mule and stuff like that. And there, a lot of them we don't take people up on. So usually we've already really considered them and thought about it before we show them to you guys, but we do get offered equines a lot, and a lot of times we just don't feel like they're a good fit for where we're at right now and our herd and all that. So, but yeah, if I was gonna go try to find an equine, man, we've bought Riata and Clyde and Josie off of just like Craigslist KSL type of classified ads, and but it's a gamble. You got to be really careful. There's a lot of dishonest people out there that are asking way too much for a mule or a horse that's got major issues. So just be careful. It's better if you can find someone who has a good reputation and buy from them. Seeds.
And Coy just asked if we're planning on keeping Mesa, and the answer is yes.
Yes.
She's our little buddy, and hopefully she's going to be my saddle horse.
Yes.
Someone asked if a hackamore, like a traditional hackamore, interferes with breathing.
No, not at all. Not at all. The hackamore's up here. It's not down on that cartilage, so it's up here on their bone goes clear down here, and that's where that hackamore sits. And it's not tight around their face. It's not like a capsin. It's like you measure for each individual equine and get a bozo that fits them. So
It's going to be hard when we do say goodbye to Cedar.
oh man, that's my biggest problem with reselling is I really like put a lot of time and effort and love into each one, and so when you have to say goodbye, it's really tough. She's very sweet. Don't try to bite my sweater. She's like, yeah, I'll take that. You think I'm sweet? She just wants her butt scratched. That's her favorite thing.
Someone says, along those same lines, are you guys still planning on training and reselling mules in the future?
Yeah, definitely. Cedar's kind of the first one. Cedar we bought because she was probably not going to go to a good home if we didn't. And so we just bought her and we're like, well, if it takes us a long time, that's okay. And we were busy with other things. So Cedar's spent a lot more time here than we had planned, just because we knew as long as she was here, she was in a good home. And we didn't want to send her off too early where she would be a problem for someone else. But in the future, if we get a proper facility where we can really take on more, it'd be nice to have an arena and some other things like that to use. But then our plan would be to get them into a different home a little bit quicker than like Cedar. But we also probably wouldn't take on quite as many that are exactly like Cedar, where she really had a hard time. We'll see. We'll see what we end up doing, but.
And someone named Marlene just said, don't think of it as reselling, just sending off to their next good home.
Yes, we just hope they stay in that good home. You know, that's always the worry. You're just like, you do everything you can. You try to really like find a good home and spend the time to find people you really think are going to take care of them. But you never know what those people are going to end up doing in the future. And so anyway, we always give a buyback option, but it's still like, you're just like, please take good care of her.
Someone said, what is your goal for your next acreage?
Well, there's like the big picture goal, but there's like the realistic goal. We'd really just like to have probably 20 acres would be really nice with some water rights still, and be able to have a little more pasture for these guys. At least a property we could build an outdoor arena if it doesn't already have one, and when we're looking at properties, it's just looking for the equines more so than us, because we'd live in a little shed or a horse trailer for a while if we had to. So we don't really care about the house.
That's
So the
almost-
ideal property actually would just have either no house or a tiny little house so it's affordable. So we thought we found one, but it ended up going off market kind of randomly, and I think it might have sold, so we were bummed because that one we were actually like starting to work on, but it's gone now.
Someone says, what's coming up next on our channel? What do we have planned?
Oh man, we've got some fun stuff actually, if I can get them all edited. We've got Josie, a little update on Josie. We've got update on what Jason and Riata have been up to. They went and traveled around by themselves for a while I was at home taking care of Mesa. So they went on some cool little rides with Ty. We've got Ty Evans Mule Week coming up. You guys are gonna be really, Steve wants to be in the video. You guys are gonna be really proud of Clyde. We may or may not have won. For everyone on the live, little hint there. So this is champion. So we did pretty well there. That was really fun. So you guys are gonna be proud of Clyde. And then yeah, we went to the backcountry in Wyoming. We packed in and spent 5 nights in there. We rode about 50 miles in those, I think 5 days total, and so that was really fun. So we'll show you guys that.
That's the one I'm probably most excited about.
That was a cool trip.
My first
Really
pack
pretty.
trip, beautiful, pristine country in Wyoming.
Yeah.
Clyde and Riata did amazing.
Yeah.
It was with good people. That was just a real pleasure.
Yeah. And it was the first time that I've like packed up our camp on a mule. We made it all the way in 12 miles into the backcountry without having to stop and readjust that, and same on the way out. So it was cool to have put all those skills that we've been learning at the pack clinics and actually do it. So.
Someone's having a hard time hearing. They say turn up your mics, but we'll just talk louder because there's not a option to turn them up. So
Feel like
sorry
I'm
for
talking
those
so
who
loud.
can't hear.
I'll move it closer to me.
Along the lines of your fancy buckle there, someone says, this was from a while ago, do you ever work cows with your mules?
Yeah, we've taken him to a couple mule working clinics with Ty, because when we got Clyde, he was extremely afraid of cows. Like we'd run into him in the mountains and he was like spin and bolt the other way. Like he was like, heck no. And so we worked really hard on getting Clyde over his fear of cows, and he's getting better. And then Riata really isn't afraid of cows at all. And so Jason got to go have some fun in Utah, pushing some cows up into the mountains. So we'll show you guys that too. That's one of them we need to edit and show you guys. So
Let's see. Oh shoot. Scroll up here. What'd that say?
mules
Have
love
you-
butt scratches.
Yeah, mules love butt scratches.
Yes.
Someone says, have you ever attended Chrome in the Canyon in Utah?
Yeah. Well, Jason did. Again, I don't remember why I think I had to work. This summer has been a crazy one. But yes, Jason went, and that mule sold for $90,000 this year, which was pretty insane. So he got to watch that, film that. We actually have a video on that mule that was at Chrome in the Canyon. So
The Chrome in the Canyon sale is always our top recommendation when people are looking to buy a mule, just because the way that they vet all their mules, they go through like a testing process. Cedar's mobbing me. They go through a testing process. So you really know what you're buying at Chrome in the Canyon. But along with that comes a higher price tag. But it's nice to be able to recommend that sale to where we know people aren't getting lied to and kind of cheated out of their money.
some other sales we've gone to, there's been a lot of like drugged mules or mules that have maybe been given painkillers, and you can tell they're probably lame. If you watch them before or after the sale, or you see people go there early and really run their mules around a lot, and I don't know, there's just some things that we're like, oh gosh, I hope people are careful when they buy from some of these other sales. So
Yeah, there's some
Just
shady
be careful.
sales. Chrome in the Canyon is not one of them.
yeah, they do a good job as a sale, like Jason said, just going through and really testing people's mules to make sure that people are buying a good mule. And there's vet checks and stuff. So now Mesa's gonna come hang out. She's gonna go over there. Go hang out with Josie.
Hang out with Josie for a little bit.
Maybe. Hey, Joes.
Do you know of any places in Florida that are reputable?
I don't. I actually don't know anyone.
There's a premier horse sale in Florida, but I'm
Florida.
not sure about mules.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. People come from all over to sell at that Comb in the Canyon. So I don't know. I know there's some good mule sales in Tennessee and stuff like that, but
That's funny. Someone asked if you're wearing Crocs.
I'm not. I like wearing off-brand Hey Dudes.
But
But
you always wear Crocs.
Yeah,
Pretty
I love-
much every day
I
you're
love
wearing
Crocs.
Crocs. So it's funny that someone asked that.
yeah, not today though, for once.
Is there any difference in feed for horses versus mules?
We don't feed them any different. Mules, some mules really can get fat a lot faster, so I'd be careful like turning them out onto grass with a lot of sugar content, stuff like that. If you have a mule that has some problems, but that's no different than a horse with laminitis or anything like that too. So it's basically the same. Kind of a, Riata likes to push these around. Get the hay underneath. This will be loud for a second. We'll let her do that so she can clean that up. She doesn't push the feeder around in the background. But yeah, it's really individual equine more so than horse versus mule.
Someone asked, are there any good places in Texas to buy mules? Can you just talk a little bit about like who we recommend in general if someone's looking to buy a mule? It's really tough.
Yeah, I mean, we always say like the Petersons are good. If you want to spend some good money and buy a nice mule, actually Ty and Sky Evans, sometimes they're selling mules and they're really honest. They'll tell you exactly what the mule is. Sometimes they have really nice bridle mules for sale. I think they just sold the one that they had for sale right now, but
Scott and Sandy Salee.
yeah, the Salees, I think it's Black Mountain
Outfitters.
Black Mountain Outfitters out of Montana. They just put a lot of miles on their animals, and so those animals have seen country and they've packed all kinds of stuff, and so they just have a lot of experience going up in the mountains in the backcountry. So if you're looking for something to ride up there, their mules are a good one because they just have a lot of exposure to that stuff. But also every once in a while, those Grand Canyon mules, they do adopt those out to good homes, and those might make they're older, but those might make a really good one. The Forest Service a lot of times will adopt their mules out once they're older, so if you don't mind an older mule that maybe needs a little lighter workload, talk to your local Forest Service because sometimes they'll have mules that they're willing to adopt out.
Another good question just came in. It says, what got you into mules in the first place?
That I'll try to, you guys, I'll try to make that story short too, but I actually, when I was in my early 20s, I leased a facility over out of Central Oregon and was training horses for the public. And Buck Brannaman came and put on a clinic at the facility, and he ended up making someone kind of mad, which he just told them the truth about their horse and their abilities. And they didn't like it and they left early. And so that left a spot open in his clinic, and I was super broke at the time. So I don't know if the facility owners let me ride for free or if Buck let me ride for free. But whoever it was, I got a ride in Buck's clinic for free the last few days. And all I had was this little Greenbroke paint colt at the time, so I rode him in there. And this lady watched me ride in the clinic and knew I was training out of that facility, and she approached me after one of the days was over, and she said, hey, I've got this mule that's been through a couple of trainers. She's really touchy, she bolts. She was like 16'2", she was huge. And she said, would you take her? And the facility owner's like, I wouldn't take that mule. That mule is gonna hurt you, you know? And I was really broke and needed the money, and so I was like, yeah, I'll take your mule. And anyway, it went really well with that mule. And in no time we had her out on the trails, and I could like fling my lead rope and hit trees, and we could ride past people on the trail and stuff, and she wouldn't bolt. She needed an experienced rider. Still after that, like she definitely fed. If you got nervous, she would get nervous, but I got along really well with that mule. I'd never worked with a mule before, and I was like, I don't know if they're different than horses. I don't know how this is gonna go, but I treated her just like I did my horses, and she was really great. And so that lady brought me a colt to start, a mule colt, and I started him for her, and that went well. And so that's kind of what got me into mules. But we got lost and had to ride way around to get back to the trucks. We ended up on the wrong side of the fence, and we went down through some crazy rim rock, and I was on that mule, and all my horses I'd had, I was like, there's no way we can go down that. And the lady I was riding with that owned the mule, she was on a different mule, a really nice calm mule of hers. She goes, oh no, the mules can handle it. And so I went down those sketchy rim rocks on that really touchy mule, and she just picked her way down, and I was like, these things are awesome. So when we decided to get equines again, you guys can follow our story. We did the whole debt payoff process. So when we decided to get equines again, I was like, what do you think about getting mules? Because we rode a lot in the mountains, and so we talked about it, and that's what we decided to do. So that's how we got into mules. So Clyde's actually the first mule I've ever owned, even though I'd worked with them in the past. So.
And then someone's asking a little bit if you can just go over the dun gene real quick. You can do it on Rooster, kind of show us, but they're wondering about the stripings and zonkies, zorses, and they want to know about the dun gene.
So you like if she's, because she looks like she's part zebra?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's no zebra influence in these guys. So a lot of the old, like primitive horse breeds, super old ancient horse bloodlines were, had this dun coloring to them. And so some people say that's like an ancient, I don't know, bloodline, whatever you want to call, coming out. But it's just a coloration of equines. They're called duns. And so you can tell it's a dun by
the way it is.
by the way it is. By the dorsal stripe. Some of them, not all of them, will have a transverse stripe like Riata has, which is this. It's also been called like a cross, because if you look down their back, it looks like they have a cross on them. So, but that's called a transverse stripe. And then some of them, not all of them, have leg barring. Riata just happens to have exceptional leg barring. Like Rooster has some, but it's called webbing. It's like not as distinct stripes. So you can see up above his dark points, he's got kind of some like mottled like webbing up there. Riata has almost zebra-like stripes, which is pretty unique. But that's not from any sort of zebra influence at all. So,
and someone said, is this our property? You
Yes.
are living the dream.
It is our property. We're very thankful for it. We'd love a little bit bigger property, a little bit better setup for what we're doing, but we are very thankful that we have this property, that we own this property, and we're able to be here. And we've built all these horse facilities here. It was very run down when we bought it, and so we're just trying to fix this place up so eventually we can sell it and move to a bigger property, which is kind of what we do. So.
Yeah, that was kind of our goal, was to do live-in flips and hopefully work into like where we can snowball our way upward into live-in flips on equine properties or ranch properties.
Yes. And YouTube was just kind of a fun thing. We live pretty far away from our families, and so we just wanted to be able to share our adventures with them and what we're up to with them. And then our YouTube kind of grew. So that's what started the whole YouTube thing, which is crazy. It's really become a bigger thing than we ever imagined. So
here you can kind of see Rooster's webbing.
Yeah. On his front leg here. And he's got some interesting spots on his neck that aren't quite like transverse stripes. They're a little bit different than most duns.
Good boy, buddy. I'll come behind you.
So yeah, I don't think you would call that a transverse stripe on his neck, but it's it's pretty interesting. So, hi.
I missed a lot of questions there. Let's see.
Mesa.
Oh, if you had one piece of advice for a beginner, what would it be?
One piece of advice for a beginner.
Beginner trainer, what would it be? There we go.
Well, if you already know how to train horses and stuff like that, man, it's always helpful to go apprentice with someone. I know that's not always an option. It's really hard to find people that need help. And usually they already have help. But starting a YouTube and getting out on social media would be a great way to grow your business and get out in front of people. So start a YouTube channel, show people what you know. There's a lot of trainers out there, and I know a lot of people have been burned by trainers. And so you just gotta build trust with people. And once you get that trust and you start spreading, word of mouth starts spreading about you, then usually you have a pretty easy time finding horses to train. But another thing is, starting out, like, don't be afraid to turn horses away. Like, and it might not even be the horse's fault. It might be that person's really difficult. But don't be afraid to turn people away, and set your standards early.
So it says, any changes in Clyde Bob after his Peterson clinic?
Well, I didn't go to a Peterson clinic. Maybe the Ty Evans clinic. I'm not sure.
I just like that they called him Clyde Bob.
Clyde Bob. Yeah, you can tell they're a true fan if they call him Clyde Bob.
Yeah.
We also sometimes I had a comment the other day. I don't remember what it was, but I told someone I call him the Great White Donkalo. Oh, they were upset that we called Briata a donkey, and I was like, well, sometimes we call Clyde the Great White Donkalo, like the Great White Buffalo. So now you have a new nickname for him if you want it. All of our equines have a million nicknames. So, but no, after winning champion buckle, his head grew about 3 times the size, and he came home and told Rooster all about it. So he's pretty sassy now. He actually, just in the last like year and a half, 2 years, he has changed so much. Like, he's finally kind of settling into himself, and he's really coming along. He was a handful for a long time. When we bought him, he only had 90 days on him, and he'd buck, he'd bolt, he'd rear. He was really anxious a lot of the time, so he's gotten a lot better.
Someone says Buck is awesome. I'm summarizing this. That they like Buck, and they're wondering if we follow his methods and what we think of Clinton Anderson.
Yeah, Buck Brannaman, we do follow his methods. And that's one thing, that's actually what brought us to finding Ty, was when I got Mules. For some reason, like the Buck Brannaman method, like making a bridle horse, that kind of thing is not super popular in the mule world. And I was listening to mule podcasts, and I found one by Ty Evans, and he mentioned Buck Brannaman and Mules, and I was like, oh, this is our guy. And so that's what got us started with learning from Ty. And now we get work for Ty, which is crazy. But yeah, so Ty's a student of Buck as well, and like Martin Black and those guys. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, we've actually taken our mules to a Buck clinic, which most people at the clinic were really happy about. There was a couple ladies that their horses were unsure about our mules, and they were not super excited that we brought our mules there. But overall, it was a really good experience. And we asked Buck beforehand, like, hey, can we bring mules? Is that allowed? And he's like, oh yeah, more the merrier. So that was really cool. Clinton Anderson, I haven't really had a whole lot of experience with. We just kind of pick the trainers that we like, and so far, like, Buck and Ty are the type that we really enjoy, and we like their methods, and so we just kind of stick with that. But yeah, my mom went to a Clinton Anderson clinic a long time ago when I was a kid, when she still rode horses, but that's about the only experience I've had with him. So.
And someone was asking about the Mustang Freeze brand. A lady named Teague in the comments mostly answered it. She answered it perfectly, but can you touch on it also for people who are watching this video in the future?
Yeah, so any Mustang that's gone through a facility, whether they've been rounded up or born out of a facility, will get that Freeze brand, and that just lets you know, I believe it's the year they were born, and are believed to have been born. Maybe it's the year they're rounded up. Sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head. And then it's going to be their 4 numbers. So his is 6672. So that's what the last 4 stand for. And then the front of it is just the government seal, saying they're government owned at one point anyway. So.
Cedar is a camera and attention hog.
Cedar is. This is why we can't film in here. Now you guys get to experience it live, how much editing I have to do, because there's just Mules in the camera. Always. Look how high her butt is compared to her withers. When she grows, she's gonna be giant.
Someone asked, with our small property, if we thought about doing a pasture paradise system. Can you talk a little bit about our rotational grazing we have set up?
I'm assuming that's similar to the track system.
That's my guess.
The track system, sorry, there's a plane, would probably have worked well here. But we're so loud. Oh, wait, just a second. But our main goal was just to get it set up and safe for our horses right away, because our move-in process was really, really short. We sold our house, and they wanted to do a short sale on it, or whatever that's called when they want to close really quickly. they wanted to move into our old house really fast, so we had to move here. So anyway, we just got facilities up, tried to do a nice job. But yeah, we do have a small acreage property, and so we have split off our pastures. We actually have 4 different pastures. We have 1 in the back, 3 in the front, and we've done a really good job of weed control. We've reseeded them. We spread the manure every spring, and we just let them go out and graze as kind of a treat each day. So depending on the time of year and how much the grass is growing, they might get to go out for a few hours or just an hour a couple times a day, and then we give them hay to supplement. But we just don't overgraze them now, and they get some time to go out there and run around. But they have a pretty big dry lot, and we extended the dry lot, so they actually have quite a bit of room in here to run around and kick at each other and all that good stuff.
Someone says, how do you work with a spooky horse? Someone, I think they said they had done a lot of groundwork and stuff, but it still gets the spooks.
Man, those questions are always so hard without like being there and seeing it, because I don't know like what you're doing or what your horse is doing. And so Ty always gets made fun of because he says it depends a lot, because that's like the answer is, well, it depends, because it really depends on so much, and that's kind of my answer right now. It depends. But yeah, the main thing with like spooky horses is a lot of people, I feel like, really kind of sneak around them, and they don't want to elevate their horse. They don't want to scare it, and horses need to have a little bit of stress induced and be able to come off that over and over and over again to learn how to self-regulate. And so you've got to get to a point where they have a little stress, let them come up, but not over the top where they can't come back down, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense and she understands what I'm trying to say. But yeah, really touchy ones, it just takes time.
Someone says, do you know Clever Cowgirl?
I don't know her, like we've never met in person, but we do talk. So, kind of. I feel like I kind of know her. But yeah, she's super nice. We really like her.
Let's see, I missed some questions in there.
We kept trying to plan a time to meet, but we're both really busy, so I don't know if that'll work out or not. Maybe. Clyde, don't be a bully. Just don't be a bully.
I'm getting
mauled.
mauled.
Now that they've finished eating, they're like, what are you doing?
All right, any last questions before we close her out? We have a fun potential business phone call this afternoon that we need to get ready for. What's your favorite pack trip, trail? Oh, pack trip or trail that you've been on?
I don't know. The one in Wyoming was really cool. I enjoyed that one. I've been into some pretty places in Montana, but the bugs were really bad, so that wasn't as fun. But there's some cool places here in Idaho that we really enjoy too, that have beautiful mountain views. So I don't know. The Wyoming one was pretty cool. We haven't got out as much as we would like to, but hopefully in the future, as these guys get better and better, we can get out more and more.
Along those same lines, someone says, are you going to do more trail rides so us Aussies can see your amazing country?
Yes, lots more trail rides. So we'll kind of close out with this. You guys, a lot of you probably know what's kind of been going on this last year, but for those of you who don't, when we moved here, Jason was working full-time. I was working full-time with my own business. I switched over to my own business, trying to get that off the ground. And we also started doing YouTube, and then that really took off. So we were basically working 3 full-time jobs between the 2 of us. We were editing full-time and filming, and then we were doing my job. Jason was going to work every single day. And so we've been really busy. Well, this spring, Ty Evans came to us and said, hey, we'd love you to be our content managers, and would you be interested? And so we're like, yeah, but that meant we had 4 full-time jobs for a while. And so Jason was able to quit his 9-to-5 to help me out with Ty's stuff. And so I am just now wrapping up the rest of my everything from my previous business. And so once that's done, it's going to be equines. Like, that's going to be it. We're going to be filming for Ty and doing that stuff, but we get to bring our own equines with us. It's going to be just us being able to ride and film for our own YouTube channel. So it's been a really long process to get everything simplified, but here really soon, hopefully, we will just be content creators with equines. So whether for Ty or us.
Last quick hitter question. What breed is Mesa?
Mesa is 3/8 quarter horse and 5/8 Percheron. She's only 1.5 years old right now, and she's a giant. She's already as tall as Riata. So, and she loves belly scratches right here. That is the best spot ever.
Awesome. Thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate all of you guys. Hope you guys have a great Sunday, and we'll see you on the next one.
He's so itchy.